What does 2.2 lakh crore rupees actually look like? Because India and South Korea just decided to spend it, all of it, on ships. I mean, here's what went down. On April 20th and 21st, 2026, India and South Korea sat down in New Delhi and signed off on one of the biggest maritime deals in recent memory. We're talking 2.2 lakh crore rupees, roughly $25 billion, covering over 400 vessels. That number on screen? That's not a typo. It's larger than the annual GDP of several Indian states combined. So yeah, this one matters. Now here's the analogy that actually makes sense of it. India has spent decades buying ships from other countries, basically renting a house instead of ever owning one. This deal is India finally saying, okay, we're building our own house. And South Korea's HD KSOE, that's Hyundai Korea Shipbuilding and Offshore Engineering, is coming in as the architect and construction partner. A brand new greenfield shipyard is going up in southern India, built from scratch on fresh land through a formal MOU with India's Maritime Development Fund. The focus is on high-value vessels like LNG carriers, the kind of technically complex, premium ships that serious maritime nations build. But here's where it gets bigger. This isn't just a shipbuilding story. Both countries have committed to doubling bilateral trade from $25 billion today to $50 billion by 2030, and they're upgrading their 2010 trade agreement to what's being called SEPA 2.0, essentially a supercharged free trade deal. A big reason India pushed for this: a stubborn $18.5 billion trade deficit. India's been buying way more from South Korea than it sells back. This deal is the first real move to fix that. The bottom line, India isn't just buying ships, it's buying into an entirely new industrial future. And the ripple effects across logistics, manufacturing, and infrastructure are just getting started. Next up, we're breaking down exactly who wins from this deal and why. So a massive government deal gets announced. And you think, okay, great, but who actually wins here? Let's get into that. Start with the GDP bump. Economists are projecting a 0.3 to 0.5% annual boost through something called the investment multiplier effect. Think of it like dropping a stone in water. That first splash of investment sends ripples outward through suppliers, workers, local businesses, the whole ecosystem. On an economy India's size, that 0.3 to 0.5% translates to tens of thousands of crores in additional economic activity every single year. Not nothing. Now jobs. Over 150,000 new positions across the board: welders, engineers, port workers, logistics coordinators. And India's existing maritime workforce of 320,000 plus seafarers. They get access to upgraded training and global certifications through KOCA. That's South Korea's International Development Agency, which means better paying international opportunities, not just domestic ones. For Indian public sector shipyards like Cochin Shipyard and Mazagon Dock, this deal is essentially a golden ticket. Direct access to South Korean tech and joint projects worth thousands of crores, capabilities that would have taken decades to build from scratch. South Korean giants like HD KSOE aren't losing either. They get a foothold in India's protected market with government incentives and lower production costs. Both sides are winning, and here's the bit that should matter to anyone in business. Port modernization under this deal is expected to cut logistics costs by 15 to 20%. If you export anything, that's a direct competitiveness upgrade. As India starts shipping out vessels and components instead of just buying them, that $18.5 billion trade deficit with South Korea, it could shrink, saving India somewhere between $5 and $7 billion annually on ship imports alone. There is one flag, though. If subsidies creep past 1 to 2% of GDP, fiscal pressure starts building. Worth keeping an eye on, so the economics look solid. But deals like this don't happen in a vacuum. Next up, the strategic picture, and why the timing of this partnership is no accident. Actually, so we have the numbers, we have the deals. But here's the question that actually matters. Does any of this change India's industrial trajectory long-term, or is it just a very expensive press release? Honest answer: it depends entirely on what India does with the knowledge it gains. Think of this like a master-apprentice relationship. South Korea, actually, the world's second largest shipbuilder, is the master. India is the apprentice. The master teaches techniques, shares tools, brings you into real projects. But, and this is the catch, the master keeps the secret designs. So India gets immediate capability, yes, but to truly compete globally, it has to invest in its own R&D. The apprentice eventually has to innovate beyond the master. That's the long game. Now, the greenfield shipyard targeting LNG carriers and advanced vessels, that's strategically brilliant. These aren't basic cargo ships. They're high margin, technically complex, and they command premium prices worldwide. Getting into this segment early puts India in the serious players league, not just the cheap assembly corner. And look at the trend line on screen. This rising curve isn't just ships. Think of shipbuilding investment like planting a banyan tree. It starts small, but its roots eventually support an entire ecosystem: steel, electronics, ports, insurance, logistics. Every 100 rupees invested here generates 300 to 400 rupees in connected economic activity across those sectors. For entrepreneurs, that window's opening right now. Steel supply chains, precision manufacturing, port-adjacent logistics, maritime training. South Korean SMEs are being invited in too, which means joint ventures and technology licensing are very real conversations for Indian businesses. 2.2 lakh crore rupees committed, 400 plus vessels on order, a new shipyard breaking ground. The tide has genuinely turned. The businesses that plant their flag in this ecosystem today will be riding that wave for the next decade. Follow us for more updates like this. Thanks for watching. And don't forget to follow us on YouTube, Instagram, and X.